In a dimly lit room, young Lily sat quietly on a wooden stool, her heart pounding in her chest. She was only 14, with golden curls that framed her delicate face and wide green eyes that still sparkled with innocence. But the shadow of her reality loomed large, reminding her that her childhood dreams felt ever so far away. Her mother, driven by desperation and the weight of their poor circumstances, had sold Lily to a brothel. It was a fate she could never have imagined for herself. Lily missed the sunlit fields where she used to run and play, where the sounds of laughter filled the air. Now, silence often fell over her as she awaited the next group of men who would come to bid on her, each one bringing their own desires and intentions. The flickering whale oil lamps cast eerie shadows around her, making the creaking walls seem as if they were whispering secrets she longed to keep hidden. Each day blurred into the next as she wore a forced smile, trying to hide her fear and uncertainty. There was a dream lingering in her heart, a dream of freedom, adventure, and love, but with each passing moment trapped in that brothel, it began to fade further away. Sometimes she would stare out of a grimy window, imagining a life beyond those four walls, vibrant gardens filled with flowers, laughter among friends, or the feel of warm sunshine on her skin. Lily's heart was heavy with sadness every time she thought about what lay ahead. Memories of playing dress-up with spring flowers woven into her hair and pretending to be a princess filled her mind. Now those memories felt like fragile petals scattered in the wind, beautiful yet unreachable. As days passed in that dreary place, her spirit began to feel like a small flicker of light fighting against an overwhelming darkness. Lily often found herself gazing at the reflections in broken mirrors, searching for any glimmer of hope hiding within those shards. She clung tightly to that hope, dreaming that one day someone would come to rescue her from this nightmare. A knight in shining armor who would sweep her away from all she had known. Little did she know that fate had plans for her beyond those grimy walls. Change was on the horizon, carried by the winds of chance and destiny. It wouldn't take long before those dreams would collide with reality as a weary soldier named Henry stepped into the brothel's doorway, bringing with him not just hope but a promise of transformation for both their lives. Lily's journey was just beginning. All she needed was someone to help ignite that flicker into a flame bright enough to guide them both toward freedom and new beginnings on far-off shores. The air was thick with tension as Lily stood at the front of the dimly lit room, her heart racing. Flickering whale oil lamps cast a warm, yet haunting glow over the gathering of rough men seated at rickety tables, their faces obscured by shadows and smoke from the cheap cigars they puffed. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation as they eyed her like vultures circling their prey. Lily clenched her fists, feeling the coarse fabric of her dress scratch against her skin. She had always imagined herself as a princess, but now she felt far from it. The madam of the brothel stood beside her, a commanding figure with a cold smile that made Lily shiver. With a flourish, the madam raised her hand to grab everyone's attention. "Welcome, gentlemen. Tonight we have a special treat for you." Her voice echoed off the walls, dripping with false cheer. "This is Lily, our newest addition. Just 14 and full of life." Lily's stomach churned at the word addition. She could feel their hungry gazes boring into her, each man sizing her up as if she were nothing more than an object to possess. Whispers filled the room as they began to place their bids, and every number uttered felt like a weight pressing down on Lily's chest. $5, one man called out, his voice gruff and coarse. 10, shouted another, leaning forward eagerly. With each bid that rose higher and higher, Lily's heart sank deeper into despair. She thought about her dreams slipping away like sand through her fingers. The laughter and warmth of sunlit fields became distant memories that felt impossible to reclaim. Just when she thought she couldn't bear it any longer, she noticed a figure emerging from the back, the weary soldier who had caught glimpses of her during earlier moments in the brothel. Henry stepped forward into the flickering light, eyes sharp with determination. The room fell silent as he placed his hand on the table, his gaze fixed on the madam. "I'll give you $20, Henry said firmly, his voice cutting through the tension. Gasps erupted around the room, men exchanging glances in disbelief at this unexpected turn of events. The madam raised an eyebrow but quickly nodded in agreement. Money was money after all. As Henry won the bid and approached Lily, she felt something shift within her, a spark of hope igniting against all odds. He reached for her hand gently but firmly, signaling that he was there to rescue her from this nightmare. Then came the moment that would change everything. As soon as they stepped outside together, he tore up her contract in front of the madam's incredulous stare. The crumpled pieces fluttered into the night air like lost dreams finally set free. In that instant, Lily knew that perhaps her journey toward freedom had truly begun, no longer trapped beneath flickering lights but stepping into a world filled with possibilities and new horizons waiting for them both. Henry stepped into the dimly lit room, his weary eyes scanning the scene before him. The flickering whale oil lamps cast shadows across his face, revealing the lines etched by fatigue and heartache. He was a soldier recently returned from the war, carrying not just the weight of his pack but also the burden of memories that haunted him in quiet moments. A mix of hope and despair battled within him as he navigated through the smoke-filled air, feeling both out of place and drawn to the unfolding drama. In this seedy establishment, men gathered around tables, their laughter mingling with rough banter and the clinking of glasses. Henry had come to the brothel for a game of poker, seeking distraction from his own troubled thoughts. The thrill of playing cards offered a temporary escape, yet he couldn't shake the heavy feeling that hung in the air. As he took his seat at a table cluttered with chips and empty whiskey glasses, he knew that tonight's game could change everything. The stakes were high, and as hands were dealt, Henry focused intently on his cards. He could feel adrenaline coursing through him. It was a familiar sensation from days spent on battlefields. As each player took their turn, Henry's mind sharpened. He analyzed every twitch and glance from his opponents, aware that they too were desperate men chasing their fortunes. As the rounds progressed, tension built around the table like a storm ready to break. Each bet placed felt heavier than the last. Henry's thoughts drifted to Lily, the girl he had glimpsed earlier through the brothel's grimy window. Her innocence struck him like a dagger. He could hardly bear to think about what awaited her behind those closed doors. This moment felt more than just a game, it was a chance to change a life. Finally came the pivotal hand, the final showdown that would determine everything. With bated breath, Henry revealed his cards, a royal flush. A gasp erupted from the table as disbelief spread among the players. They had been betting fiercely against him, but now shock replaced their bravado. "I'll take my winnings," Henry said firmly as he collected his chips, but it was not just money he sought, it was freedom for Lily that drove him forward. He rose from his seat with newfound determination and approached the madam with purpose. $20 for her, he declared loudly enough for everyone to hear, locking eyes with Lily in that instant. For her, time seemed to freeze as hope shone brightly in his gaze, a promise of rescue amid despair. As murmurs filled the room and bids fell silent in shock at this unexpected twist, Henry felt something inside him shift. With one bold decision, he had ignited a flicker of possibility not only for himself but for Lily as well, a chance to rewrite their fates together in a world waiting beyond those walls. As the last card was dealt, an electric tension filled the room. The players leaned in, whispers of disbelief dancing on their lips when Henry revealed his royal flush. Gasps erupted, drowning out the clinking of glasses and murmurs of astonishment. For a moment, time stood still as he soaked in the victory, his heart pounding with a mix of triumph and urgency. "Looks like luck is on my side tonight," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. As he collected his winnings, he felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him. This wasn't just a game, it was a lifeline for Lily. He had to act quickly before anyone could recover from their shock. With chips in hand, Henry turned toward the madam, her expression shifting from surprise to annoyance as she realized he intended to claim more than just money. He stepped forward boldly, locking eyes with her while raising his voice above the din. "I'll give you $20 for her," he declared, pointing firmly at Lily, who stood frozen at the front of the room. The air thickened with disbelief as all eyes shifted from Henry to the madam, who seemed momentarily taken aback. $20? She scoffed, her cold smile faltering slightly. "You think that's enough for what she's worth?" But without waiting for a reply, Henry reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of bills, his hard-earned pay from battles fought far away. "She deserves better than this place," he insisted, determination fueling every word. "I'm not leaving without her." The tension in the room crackled as men exchanged glances. Some looked impressed by Henry's boldness while others scowled at being overshadowed by one soldier's moral bravery. With one swift motion, Henry approached Lily and held out his hand to her. "Come with me," he urged softly but firmly, giving her a reassuring smile that ignited hope in her heart. Just then, with all eyes upon them and silence enveloping their corner of the room, Henry tore up Lily's contract. A bold act that sent shockwaves through the brothel. The pieces fluttered down like confetti onto the wooden floorboards, each shred symbolizing her release from captivity. In that moment, something shifted within Lily. She felt shackles breaking free not just from her wrists but from her spirit as well. The madam's incredulous stare reflected disbelief and fury as she realized she had lost control over both Henry and Lily. The world outside beckoned them. A vast expanse filled with possibilities beyond those grim walls. With every step they took together towards freedom, both Henry and Lily felt empowered by their defiance against fate. They were no longer victims of despair but co-authors of their own story, one filled with hope for new beginnings on distant horizons waiting just beyond the horizon. As they stepped out of the brothel, the cool night air hit them like a wave, invigorating and frightening all at once. The streets were dimly lit, shadows dancing under the flickering lamps that lined the cobblestone paths. Henry tightened his grip on Lily's hand, a silent promise that he would protect her no matter what happened next. They hurried forward, hearts racing with a mix of exhilaration and fear. The echoes of laughter and muted conversations from the brothel faded behind them, replaced by the distant sounds of a bustling town winding down for the night. With every step, Lily felt the weight of her past slightly lift, replaced by an intoxicating blend of hope and uncertainty. She glanced up at Henry, whose determined expression fueled her courage. "Where do we go now?" she whispered, her voice barely breaking through the nighttime silence. "Just keep moving," Henry replied, his tone firm but reassuring. "We need to get as far away from this place as we can." They weaved through narrow alleyways, each corner bringing new fears that lurked in the shadows. Lily could hear her own breathing echoing in her ears, the steady rhythm of life still pulsing around them even as they slipped past unnoticed. Every creak of wood or distant shout sent a shiver down her spine. What if someone were to catch them? The thought filled her with dread. Yet as they moved deeper into the night, excitement surged within her. The thrill of freedom ignited something deep inside, a spark that she thought had long been extinguished. The realization that she was no longer someone's possession felt surreal, almost dreamlike. She stole glances at Henry, who kept his eyes focused on the path ahead as if he could sense the dangers surrounding them. Suddenly, they heard footsteps behind them, heavy boots echoing against the stone pavement. Panic flooded Lily's senses as she instinctively tightened her grip on Henry's hand. "What if they're coming after us?" she gasped. Henry quickly scanned their surroundings and then turned to an alley that seemed darker than the others. "This way," he urged, pulling her along behind him. They ducked into the narrow passage, pushing further into the shadows as their hearts raced like wild horses in escape. They crouched low against a wall, holding their breath as footsteps passed just outside their hiding spot. Lily could hardly believe how close they had come to being caught. The fear pounding in her chest was almost unbearable. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps faded away into the distance. Once they were sure they were alone again, Henry pulled back slightly to meet her gaze. "We did it," he whispered with a grin that lit up his weary face. "We're free." Tears welled in Lily's eyes as relief washed over her like a gentle tide. Together, they emerged from their hiding place into the moonlight. A world waiting for them filled with both challenges and opportunities beyond their wildest dreams. With each step into the unknown, they shed their past lives and embraced an uncertain but hopeful future together on the Oregon Trail. The journey along the Oregon Trail began at dawn, with the sun slowly rising over the horizon like a promise of new beginnings. The landscape opened up before them, a vast expanse of rolling hills and golden fields that seemed to stretch endlessly. For the first time in what felt like ages, Lily took a deep breath, inhaling the fresh air filled with the scent of wildflowers and earth. As they traveled together on horseback, the initial thrill of freedom gradually transformed into the reality of their adventure. Each day brought new challenges, from rocky terrain that jostled them in their saddles to unpredictable weather that shifted from warm sunshine to sudden rain showers. Yet, through every obstacle, Henry remained steadfast, guiding Lily with gentle encouragement and a reassuring smile. "Just put your trust in the horse, Lily," he advised one morning as they navigated a particularly steep slope. "Let it do the work, you're safe." His calm demeanor helped ease her nerves as she learned to balance herself better in the saddle. Along their journey, they encountered other travelers, families on wagons, hopeful pioneers seeking a better life. These interactions painted vivid pictures of resilience and hope, stories woven into the very fabric of the trail. Lily listened intently as Henry shared tales from his own past, the camaraderie he found among fellow soldiers and the bonds forged in battle. In return, she began to open up about her own life, her memories of laughter with friends before everything changed. She spoke of her mother's struggles and how she had always dreamed of exploring faraway places, never imagining such dreams would come true under such dire circumstances. With each story shared around campfires at night, their bond deepened. Laughter echoed against the backdrop of crackling flames as they recounted silly moments or mused about what lay ahead. On one starry evening, they sat side by side beneath a blanket of stars, feeling small yet infinite under the vast sky. But their journey was not without its trials. One afternoon, they faced an unexpected thunderstorm that forced them to take refuge beneath a large tree. Huddled together for warmth and comfort while lightning cracked overhead, fear surged through Lily again, but beside her was Henry, his presence steadying her racing heart. "We'll get through this," he assured her softly, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. When the storm passed as quickly as it had arrived, leaving behind a brilliant double rainbow arching across the sky, it signified more than just beauty. It felt like a metaphor for their journey, a reminder that while hardships were inevitable, there was always hope waiting on the other side. As days turned into weeks on the trail, they embraced both challenges and joys together, with each sunrise marking new adventures ahead and every sunset reflecting their growth and connection. Lily realized they were not just surviving. They were truly living, and finally writing their own story toward freedom and future possibilities along the Oregon Trail. As they continued their journey along the Oregon Trail, the bond between Lily and Henry deepened, but so did the shadows of their pasts. One evening, as they sat beside a crackling campfire under a blanket of stars, Lily's gaze drifted to the flickering flames, memories rushing back like unwelcome ghosts. "Do you ever think about where we came from?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken pain. Henry looked thoughtful, his face illuminated by the firelight. "Every day," he replied slowly. but it's what we do with those memories that matters. He paused, collecting his thoughts. I was in the war for too long, fighting alongside men who became brothers to me. But I lost many of them. His voice cracked slightly as he continued. Some nights I still hear the gunfire and see their faces in my dreams. They never really leave you. Lily shivered at the thought of such horrors, her own memories surfacing uninvited. I had nightmares too, she admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. After everything that happened, I often dream about being back in that room. The bidding, the men, feels so real. Henry shifted closer, offering her warmth and comfort. It's okay to feel that way, he said gently. What happened to you isn't something you can forget easily. But you're not there anymore. You're here with me now. His words wrapped around her like a protective cloak, and for the first time in a long while, Lily felt heard rather than judged. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself as she shared more about her past, the loneliness of being sold by her mother and the fear that gripped her during those dark nights waiting for someone to choose her. I always wanted to be free, she confessed, wiping away a tear that escaped down her cheek. I dreamed of running through fields, laughing with friends, not being trapped like an animal. Henry listened intently, nodding in understanding as she spoke. He shared stories of his own childhood, of laughter shared with siblings and the warmth of family gatherings before everything changed when war came crashing into his life like a storm. As they exchanged their stories, vulnerability turned into strength. They realized they were not alone in their struggles. The darkness began to lift as they forged deeper connections through shared pain and hope for brighter tomorrows. With each tale recounted by the firelight, they crafted new dreams together, ones filled not with nightmares but with possibilities beyond the horizon. Together, they faced their fears head-on, determined to rewrite their futures and leave behind the haunted echoes of their pasts. In those moments under the stars, both Lily and Henry found solace in each other, a bond formed not just by escape from their former lives but by embracing their stories and moving forward hand in hand toward a brighter tomorrow on the Oregon Trail. As dawn broke over the Columbia River, a soft glow spread across the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange, pink, and gold. Henry and Lily sat on a grassy knoll overlooking the shimmering water, their hearts swelling with a sense of peace that had eluded them for far too long. The gentle sound of the river flowing beneath them felt like a soothing lullaby, washing away the remnants of their troubled pasts. Lily leaned against Henry, her head resting on his shoulder as they watched the sun rise. It was a moment of serenity, one that seemed to promise new beginnings. It's beautiful, she whispered, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sky. I never thought I would see something like this. Henry smiled softly at her, feeling grateful for this chance to share such a moment. It's even more beautiful because we're free to enjoy it, he replied, his voice low and filled with warmth. For both of them, this dawn marked not just the start of a new day, but the beginning of a new life, a life filled with hope and possibility. As they sat in silence, taking in the beauty around them, memories flickered through Lily's mind like shadows, memories of dark rooms and flickering lamps that once held her captive. But here and now, those memories began to fade, replaced by the vibrant colors of dawn. The river flowed steadily below, reminding her that life continued regardless of the storms they had weathered. Do you think we'll ever find a place to call home? Lily asked suddenly, breaking the peaceful stillness. Her voice was laced with both curiosity and vulnerability. We will, Henry assured her, his tone confident yet gentle. We'll build our own home together, somewhere we can truly be free. The thought resonated deeply within them both, igniting dreams of what lay ahead. As sunlight spilled across the landscape, illuminating everything it touched, they felt as if they were being reborn alongside the day. Each ray of light signified their newfound strength and resilience, testaments to their journey so far. Together, they had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged not just alive but flourishing. With renewed determination in their hearts, they rose from their spot by the riverbank. The world stretched before them like an uncharted map filled with endless possibilities. Hand in hand, they began walking along the river's edge, laughter bubbling up between them as they discussed what adventures awaited. The Columbia River flowed beside them like an eternal companion on their journey, a symbol of hope and continuity. As morning unfurled its wings around them, Lily felt lighter than she had in years. Each step carried her further from darkness and closer to freedom. With every sunrise over the horizon from this day forward, Lily and Henry would embrace not just the beauty of nature but also the beauty of their shared journey. A journey marked by courage and love as they continued down the Oregon Trail toward an exciting future together. As they traveled deeper into Oregon, Henry and Lily began to form a vision of the life they wanted to build together. The rolling hills and sprawling landscapes around them served as a canvas for their hopes and dreams, contrasting sharply with the confines of their pasts. Each day brought new opportunities, and they were determined to seize every moment. One afternoon, while resting under the shade of a sprawling oak tree, Henry turned to Lily with a serious expression. What do you think our first step should be when we get to Oregon? He asked, his eyes filled with anticipation. I want a place we can call home, Lily replied thoughtfully, her fingers playing with blades of grass. A little house with flowers in the garden, somewhere safe. Her heart swelled at the thought of having a space that was truly theirs, free from the darkness of her previous life. That sounds perfect, Henry agreed. We'll find land where we can build it ourselves. I've learned a thing or two about construction while serving in the army. He smiled at her enthusiasm, feeling inspired by her dreams. Lily's eyes sparkled as she imagined tending to a garden filled with colorful blooms. And I'll grow vegetables too. We can have fresh food all year round, she added excitedly. The idea of nurturing something alive filled her with hope, pushing away any lingering shadows from the past. As they continued on their journey, they discussed practical plans for their new life, how they would save money by working in nearby towns and barter for supplies. They envisioned making friends within their community, neighbors who would share stories over evening fires and offer support during tough times. Their conversations turned toward dreams for the future. Lily expressed her desire to help others who had suffered like she had. Maybe I could start a small school or help women who need support, she suggested, her voice full of conviction. Henry nodded thoughtfully. You'd be great at that, he encouraged her. You have such a kind heart. Together, we can make sure no one feels alone like we did. With every shared dream and plan, their bond grew stronger. They exchanged laughter and ideas under the vast Oregon sky, feeling lighter than ever before. The burdens they carried began to feel more manageable as they realized they were no longer defined by their pasts but by the future they were creating together. As day turned into night, and stars twinkled above them like scattered diamonds, Henry took Lily's hand gently in his own. No matter what challenges come our way, we'll face them together, he promised earnestly. Lily squeezed his hand back, filled with warmth and assurance. Underneath that starry sky, they knew that each step taken along the Oregon Trail was not just about reaching a destination but about building a new life. A life founded on love, resilience, and hope for brighter days ahead. As Henry and Lily stood hand in hand, gazing out over the vast landscapes of Oregon that lay before them, they reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this pivotal moment in their lives. What had begun as a tale of desperation and despair transformed into a story filled with resilience, hope, and the power of human connection. At the heart of their experience was the recognition that both had endured darkness, the type that could easily crush spirits and dissolve dreams. Lily's past had been one of confinement, forced to live within walls that stifled her innocence and joy. Meanwhile, Henry had battled his own demons from war, haunted by memories of loss and trauma. Yet together, they had faced these shadows head-on. The path to liberation had not been easy. It was marked with obstacles and fearful moments that challenged their resolve. From the treacherous streets of the Brothel to the uncertainties of travel along the Oregon Trail, they emerged anew. They took each challenge as it came, refusing to allow bitterness or fear to define them any longer. In their courage to move forward, they discovered strength they never knew resided within them. Through shared stories around campfires and whispered confidences under starry skies, Lily and Henry forged a bond deeper than mere companionship. Each vulnerability shared strengthened their connection, a reminder that even through pain and uncertainty, love could blossom anew. This profound relationship fueled their desire for a brighter future, one fueled by mutual support and understanding. With every step taken on this new land together, they saw not just the terrain but endless possibilities stretching before them like an open book waiting to be written upon. They spoke of building a home filled with laughter, a sanctuary where flowers would bloom in gardens tended with care, symbols of life reclaimed and nurtured from within. Their thoughts danced around dreams of community, a place where others could come together to share in joy or seek comfort during hardships. Lily's idea of helping those who suffered echoed through Henry's mind as he envisioned a future where no person felt lonely or hopeless again. Together they would create an atmosphere ripe with compassion and warmth, a true haven. Underneath those vast skies where dawn began each day in strokes of light and color, they found themselves reborn, equipped not only with hope but also renewed purpose. As they forged ahead toward uncharted territory, both literally and metaphorically, they understood that challenges would still arise but felt ready to tackle whatever came their way. In the end, their story was one of triumph over adversity, a tale woven richly with themes of resilience and love triumphing against all odds. With hearts open to whatever lay ahead in this new chapter, Henry and Lily embraced each moment, a testament to their journey from darkness into light, and celebrated all that lay beyond the horizon waiting just for them on this incredible adventure called life.